Welcome to Keith and the Girl. I'm Keith Malley.
I'm Chemda.
Chemda, I'm reading a story right here. A man tried so hard to reach a high note at a friend's karaoke-themed birthday bash that his lung collapsed.
Good. Don't tell me that that's a thing, because here's what it reminds me of. I remember years ago on this show, Brother Love talked to us about his dad, and his dad tried too hard to poop.
Yeah.
And then his insides
His asshole
out.
fell out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think about that every time I'm having some issue. I'm just like, don't have any, there's no room for issues. Now I got to think about it at karaoke. This is why I don't go to karaoke. This and only this.
Well, I mean, I'm careful on the toilet, all this stuff. Brother Love's dad can't eat calamari now. It sickens him.
Oh, how do you make it worse?
25 years old, this person is, if that's important to you. He was singing a falsetto song. He tried to hit this note, had a sharp pain, went to the hospital, and that's when they saw his lung collapse. I've heard some karaoke singers, and I'm like, something's breaking inside them. Anyway, we're going to be talking in a minute with Jackie Kashian. Fantastic. The Dork Forest, all this. First, I want to say thank you once again for supporting the Kickstarter. We, of course, made our goal. Keith and the Girl continues.
This is, okay, some of you have written this online on the Kickstarter page and social media that every year you sort of check and you get a little bit nervous because this is what keeps the show going. We are just as nervous. This is like taking a poll. Do you still want more of us?
Yeah.
Or should we just start another life? And every year we're like, they still love us. They still love us. And you've loved us for 17 years. And now we get a whole nother year. Thank you so much. So we're going to record another year of Keith and the Girl. That's one of the Kickstarter goals met. And what else?
Well, we have the 24-hour marathon. We'll have at least 50 of your favorite comedians. That's happening.
That's February 5th. So mark your calendar.
Free week of OMAT. If you gave at any level, there's a group reward that we reached.
And if you sign up now, you'll be joining us for the first week of the year, which is a very good time to start OMAT Club.
Do that. And another group reward is the exclusive Silent Trailers game show. So if you donated at any amount, you get to be part of that. And when something's a production, we put on a show. It's Silent Trailers. It's Chemda, who knows nothing about movies, even less about actors and actresses, like almost certifiable. Like, it's nuts. Like, aren't there billboards on your planet? Anyway,
I am happy to take a test and be actually certified in this. Okay. I am happy. Like, I just know that for me, actors disappear into their role. And so it's a high compliment that I don't know your real name. Thank you.
So, of course, that means we use her to look at a trailer on silent and describe what's happening. She could be saying Tom Cruise is doing this. Don't let that throw you. It might be Elijah Wood. Anyway, that is the funnest game show we do. I, who see every movie ever made, the opposite of Chemda. Chemda has emotions. I have every movie ever made. And so I play against people. And I'm going to play against, let's see, Hannah Boone, Bianca Brady, the psychic witch, Robert Alvarez, Chris Laker. That's been a minute, right? Micah Fox's boyfriend. We only met him once. That's all right. Chaz Kangas will do improvised raps in between each round. And we wrote that on social media. And Robert Alvarez wrote, the last time I spot a rap, we said Chaz Kangas will be summing up each round with improvised rap. The last time I spot a rap, he said, was when I was in high school. That was a long time ago. Good goddess, he does. I shall need some reinforcements and soon. Does he know what he's doing, Chemda?
No, it's so cute. It is so cute. From booking until now, he is going to be a surprise. Listen, this is why I say Silent Trailers, you can invite new people. Sometimes the guests don't even know what they're talking about, and it's fantastic. In fact, when I booked him, and he's been on the show before, so he knows that circle of events, right? But he's never been on Silent Trailers. And I said, hey, we do this live virtual show. Here's the information. Here's where it is. It's virtual. And here's what's the date, what's the time, and here's what the pay is. And he goes, I would absolutely love to do this. This sounds so much fun. I'm always happy to be in the Keith and the Girl world. Can you just clarify one thing? Do I pay you? And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh, he's going to be the best. Make sure you're part of that. What's that date again?
That is this Saturday, December 11th.
All right. Here she is, host of the podcast, The Dork Forest and the Jackie and Laurie Show. We just talked to, her
Lori
partner.
Kilmartin.
Yeah. What?
I had a stroke in the middle of saying Lori Kilmartin.
And threw your face in the mug like real quick, like nothing happened. Let's see here. Jackie's albums, I think they're fantastic. I have all 5 memorized. They've been #1 on Amazon and iTunes. She has over 10 million listens on Spotify and Pandora. Been featured on Conan, Mayor, and This American Life. Come on now, Jackie Cation. How you doing, Jackie?
I'm good. It's up to 50 million. Guess what's a hit? The latest album. Yeah.
Nice. Congrats.
Yeah, latest album. I recently watched it, laughing through the whole thing. I mean, you touched on really big stuff that's polarizing a lot of stuff, like gender stuff. And it was, I want to call it a gentle roasting of things that are important.
Of things that are, because they are important. They are. I mean, I also talk about things that aren't important, just so people know. Dogs, but actually, people do find dogs super important.
See, you don't know. Don't trigger people now. You did good.
Fair enough.
And I super love the way you describe what it feels like to be a woman to you, and I very much relate. So I appreciated it and giggled through it. So thanks.
I think I just said that I felt like a people.
See?
That's all.
What are you going to negate everything that I'm? Yeah,
I think people do kind of want to hear that because your straight white guy is the only one who gets to be a people, and then the rest of us are like, I swear to God, I don't feel like anything but a people sometimes. Is that wrong? Am I wrong? Right. And it's not that wrong. It's
We
fine.
the People. Yeah, I get it.
Well, the album is called Staycation. Get it?
Get it?
And it's fabulous. So do get it. I'm glad you're here for a couple of reasons. First of all, Jackie, today is our Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler episode. So it's good to see you. We'll be
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
If you've already seen Spider-Man No Way Home and you were going to spoil it, I would be like, and click.
Of course.
Here's what happened during the mic check. They started talking about something like this. It could have been Spider-Man. I have no idea, but Keith was still on. Then he goes, hold on, let me get water. Now in Zoom, as soon as you take your headphones off, you're not in the room. You can't hear us. And Jackie, bless your heart, you tried to continue that conversation.
No, you're not going to tell people I turned it over to Lady Chatterley's Lover or some other incredibly deep, dark, like classic novel. Yeah, I did not.
I'm sure it was wonderful, but it was me and Xerxes just kind of like, and then just when she took a breath, I was like, you're going to be speaking Hebrew the entire podcast. Yeah. And then Keith comes back and I'm like, she said stuff. Let's just start. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's like, Hawkeye is a person then?
No, what is it? It's a hawk. And it's I read some nonfiction lately. Is that what you read? What do you read, Hamda?
I've been reading autobiographies. I read Ophira's. That was fantastic. I read Judy Gold's book recently. Now I'm reading How to Stop Worrying and Start Living.
Okay.
And so I'll go between those two kinds of things, like how the mind works and then what people's lives are like. Yeah.
Right. Some sort of memoir-y stuff. Yeah.
Do the books ever work together, Hemda, in that like one's trying to sell you on another book and you think like the authors know about it? It's making me think of a joke like Jackie has where you just watch news all day and they're making you nervous. Then that's so they can cut to a commercial about medication and the cycle continues. Are these books like that?
Well, I wish they were. I wish they all had a glossary because what happens is I end up highlighting it. And then I have by the time I finish one book, I might have a list of 5 books that person referenced. So yeah, if they're doing it accidentally or on purpose, bravo, it works.
There's that's how I listened to hip hop in the late 80s. If any of the bands would recommend other bands, I'd be like, I'm going to go buy that. And then I listened to, Big Daddy Kane and, Eric B. and Rakim. But I started out with KRS-One. You guys, I don't know why I'm giving you this information, but yes, get out there. I haven't listened to anything since. So
you're getting cool points, obviously. Probably for the same reason that on your new special, you had to talk about how you were wearing lipstick. Sometimes you just have to say things.
Which I am not now. And we are on Zoom, and this I see that we are being pushed live to YouTube. People like to see your joke hole lit up. when you're on the internet. And so I am talking.
By the way, I do have your albums memorized. Congrats. Your first album, I meant to ask you this. In your first album, you edited, you kind of bleep out dirty words. Like, this is a real fucker, but fucker comes out like fucker. What was that move and decision process that didn't stick for the next 4 albums?
Let's go back to 2002 or 2000, whenever that one was done. Because the first album, the real first album, Keith, which you don't have as a collector's item. I burned it myself in 1997. And I do most of that material on my second album, which is out publicly, called It's Never Gonna Be Bread. But Circus People is the album you're talking about. Yes. I had a professional, for the first time, a professional audio guy. He was in a band, so he knew how to work all the machinery in the early 2000s. And he recorded it for me, and he mastered it. And then we put it out on CD Baby. And so the swear words, he was like, do you want me to bleep those out? And I was like, why? And he goes, well, it might play on the radio then. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then I don't know if he did it every time. I think he didn't. I think he missed one. So it's a great story. That really sums up my career. Kind of half-assed, kind of doing it, but Dork Forest, 16 years, still have 11,000 listeners, but there are 11,000 people who care. So
how you holding up in general with the pandemic? The album just came out, so obviously you're working, but you bring up a great point. You go, we are in the laziest Civil War ever.
Oh my God, it is brutal. I'm about to go to Florida tomorrow. I wonder if I'll do that joke there.
Right.
I was in North Carolina yesterday, so I did do it there. So
how'd it go?
There was a little bit of there was a couple people who left this weekend. Yeah. Sometimes people don't. Walked a couple of people, sure.
Because of that joke?
I believe so. I believe because people looked at me and they're like, oh, this is some hippie crystal clutcher. There's absolutely no reason why I should stay with this clearly communist, pinko, liberal woman. I didn't know I was coming to see. I thought I just walked in on a Friday night to see stand-up comedy. And I was like, I'm opening for Maria Bamford. There absolutely should have been no illusion what you were coming to see. Feel free to YouTube, Google your theater events before you go out. And all of a sudden you're watching Waitress and you're like, I thought this was Hamilton. And nobody ever does that. So
does it distract you, or are you just like, well, yeah, that's going to happen at this point?
Yes. Both things happen. Sometimes I'm distracted by it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, well, there goes that guy. And
do you have what is
go-to line?
Yeah.
I don't have a go-to line. There was Andy Woodhull. What was his name? I wish
Andy
I had
Warhol.
Andy Warhol was at my show this week, but weirdly enough, he showed up in 4 different colors. And he's dead. But I don't actually, I wish I had a line, but I don't. Sometimes I'm like, maybe they're going to the bathroom, but and then their table is empty. So for the rest of the show.
Ooh, you know what's it like? Maybe they're going to the bathroom. So you should go like, watch out for stall number 2. There's no toilet paper.
I could. And then I can find out. But I have so many jokes, especially when I'm opening. Like, because, the week before I headlined in Arkansas, I did the Civil War line in Arkansas. And some people were like, grumble, 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 grumble. And because the follow-up to the Civil War line currently is only the bad guys are really shooting anybody right now. And I would encourage you to take up arms. But I'm not willing to. Right. So it really feels on brand, very American. You do it. You fix it. Check, please. Balance. Anyone?
I guess you check what city you're in if you'll make a joke like, now Paul Ryan, he looks like the guy that date raped me in college. I'm not saying I'm just saying he looks like the guy that. I guess you would check what state you're in first, right?
Yeah, no, actually the Paul Ryan joke, when I did it, I did that everywhere because he was so prominent and he had such a nice haircut that everybody knew who he was because he was just a haircut. A haircut with a heart of stone is what he seems to be right now. I think he's working for the Koch brothers, whatever their name is.
Do you debate like, hey, this joke I think is funny enough, but I almost don't want to even give the rapist credit because I'm not saying his name. I'm not giving more information. I'm just doing it for this one joke. Is that a debate to go through?
Sometimes I do. Like in the Horcrux album, I did a joke about sort of being assaulted. Cheerful stuff, you guys get in there. And but I didn't name that person, partially because I don't remember his name. You know, when you're date raped and you're being held down and a guy is just saying, I'm almost done. And you're just like, oh, well, I can't remember that guy's name on purpose. Yeah.
Did he? I'm sorry.
I can't even dox that guy. So
did he say that? Did he actually say that?
Oh, yeah. A lot of silence there. You're not wrong.
Sorry.
Just taking it in.
It's just a bad life choice. Gentlemen, if someone says, I don't want to do this anymore, and you're like, I'm almost done, wrap it up. Finish into a towel. There you go.
Does he say hi to you the next day? Is this college this time you're thinking?
Yeah, it was college. I did run into him a couple of days later at a bar. And does
he nod like, hey?
Yeah, we both don't talk to each other.
Right.
But here's the thing about me. I forget who hates me. This happened actually with this guy. I forget who date rapes me. And like I tend to not, and I see people, I have that face thing, which can also be called self-absorption, but I have that face thing where I don't remember people. So if I remember you, there's part of me that goes, oh, I know that person. Mm-hmm. And then if they don't like me, they have a genuine opportunity to be mean to me again. I did that with this woman for like 3 years here in Los Angeles, where she was always mean to me. And I didn't see her often enough to remember. So I would see her like 9 months later and I'd be like, oh, there's Lisa. And she'd be like, oh, you. And then she would like blow me off. And so with this guy, when I saw him like 3 days later at the bar, I was like, it's either Steve or Tim. And he saw me and his eyes got real big because I got really mad at him. Like after he wouldn't stop.
What happened immediately after? When he said, I'm almost done, what happened after that?
Well, he finished.
Immediately after?
Very close. It took probably another minute and a half because I had ruined his rhythm. It felt interminable. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, it's a long time.
And then he rolled off, right? Because he was on top, took off the condom, I assume, threw it in the garbage in the laundry room. It was pretty romantic, this coupling. I'm not going to lie to you. And I like to call it coupling. What? Did I just write a romance novel? What just happened?
Classy. It's disgusting, but you're classy.
Have you heard Joy L. Johnson's joke about her abortion?
I don't know.
Oh my God. It is. I'm going to find it. It's called Joy. It's something Joy L. Johnson. And she had an abortion and she's not ashamed of her abortion and no one should be ashamed of her abortion. And then she goes, you should maybe be ashamed of how you got pregnant. And then she tells how she got pregnant, and it was a lot like a laundry room moment. But I don't think it was date rape. I think it was consensual, regrettable sex, which I've had that too. Plenty of that.
I like that category. You mentioned that in your stand-up, that category of sex, consensual, regrettable sex. Yes,
yeah,
we can relate.
Yeah, and it's the thing that the cops always think rape is. It's a very separate category, officer. It's a very separate category. And so what happened? So you rolled over and then you want closure on this.
Yeah, I do. Sorry.
I was like, I said, you're going to have to fucking leave now. Okay. And I'm sure I swore. And I'm sure. And as I adjusted my clothing and realized that there was no booze anywhere around me. And I was like, I need a drink. And this was dumb. And I'm not psyched. So you should go away.
And what was his response?
Okay. He just came. He's fine.
Okay.
He's clear. Right. He's clear. Yeah. He could probably, it's like after you eat too much, you're like, I'm never going to eat again. He's probably thought, I'm never going to rape anybody again. This was just this one time. And then he probably got pizza.
And then when you see him in a bar, do you stay and he stays, but you're not talking to each other? Do you debate?
It's a college, so it's super crowded. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think, well, now I can figure out his name. He's in this room.
Oh no. Now I think to myself, I need a drink.
Right.
So it's literally, you'll see a theme.
Right.
And
You'll see a theme. Speaking, by the way, of your family, is there political divide there? You have a huge family. You have 4 older brothers, 1 older sister. So Jack is the youngest. Any political divide? Anything with the vaccine going on? Everybody on the same page.
My oldest brother is I haven't talked to him in about 4 years. So, and he's a piece of work. So, and I'm not particularly kind to him when we talk. So it's really for the best that we don't. If I can't be nice, if you can't say something nice.
Right.
And so the last time we talked, I was actually, he was dumb and I was mean.
Okay.
I get that. So you don't want to have a mean exchange. So
I don't want to be that mean.
Yeah.
I wish he wasn't that dumb. He once told me that the church made him into a better man. Okay. And I said, that's great. I wish you were a better man than you are.
Can you go to a bigger church or something?
Oh my God, that's a great line.
When are you up for a bishophood?
Oh, there's just the one job left and there's a glass ceiling.
Right.
He would genuinely like to be God. So
do you have nephews and nieces?
I have, 14 or 15. And then I have 4 great nieces and nephews. Yeah.
You have enough
breeding.
You have enough to lose count. 14, 15.
Yeah. Something like that. It's so my oldest brother, the evangelist, has 4 kids and, 2 of his kids each have, my nephew has 2 kids and my niece has 1, the 3 boys. And then, my second oldest brother has 4 kids. One's his stepson, but, and then 2 of my nephews are about to have babies. And then my third oldest brother doesn't have any kids. I don't have any kids. My fourth oldest brother has 2 boys. They are both single or not with children at this point. I think my youngest nephew, who's 22, has a girlfriend. Too much info. My sister has her and her.
She thinks her family's listening, and this is a test. She's like, I know how many you have. Okay,
I know.
One is adopted. Yes. I know. I counted them.
Right. And my husband, Andy, has 1 nephew. So we have 1 nephew there. And then my sister has the 2 youngest and there's a boy and a girl and her girlfriend, wife, person, they don't believe in marriage. So they are partners but they have done all the legal hoops so that if and when one of them dies.
This is your sister, right?
That's my sister. Yes.
Okay.
They will, it'll all work out. Because they are also like very legal. They're like, we're going to adopt each other's kids. We're going to do this. We're going to make sure the money's in order, the will. And so, so Noah and Judah, I think, are 14 and 11.
Well, 12. And that's interesting that you have a gay sister. I have, or a gay bisexual, I don't know, but I have a gay brother and there's 5 of us. And if we didn't have anybody in our family that wasn't heteronormative, I'd really look at us like we're a lame family because that's a lot of people. So thank goodness is my point.
Right. We're mixing it up. And it's so funny because my husband, I do on the album, I say that for a couple of years he identified as bisexual and he's like, I still identify as bisexual. And I'm like, no, you're monogamous.
Right.
I don't care what your sexuality is. It's me. And then it's me and you. And then we're going to let each other in on it if we ever want to change that. And hopefully prior to action. But, whatever happens, I assume.
Your dad that you talk about on your albums is fabulous. He's one of these things. It's got to I picture it like my dad, the way I'll say all these asshole moves he's done over the years. And everybody says, oh my, I can't wait to meet him. Hear a word I said.
At all. People are like a new bit I'm working on is about how much he loves to gamble. And people are always like, that's so cool. And I was like, yeah, I always wanted a bike.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, her dad was a salesman, sold everything. And you know what? My dad kind of too, except he sold nothing. He was a salesman, but it could be frames, it could be health insurance, it could be movie tickets. It was hearses. He drove us to school in one because he would go around trying to sell it. I'm not exaggerating. But he just never sold anything. But it's the same thing. My dad would absolutely do what your dad did when he sold toupees. Adjust his real hair like, okay, that's good. And people are like, oh, that looks...
Is that something you're looking for? Is that because look at that? That never comes up. Look at that.
Right.
You're like, yeah, Dad, that's okay.
He sounds like he was Jackie's dad sounds like he was a good salesman as opposed to Keith, who pretended.
And it's interesting because I knew there was another comic that I knew whose dad was an aluminum siding salesman in Milwaukee, and he was hugely successful. And I mentioned him to my dad one time, and my dad goes, "Oh, that guy's really good." My father is he's actually an incredibly good salesman and would have been much more successful if a couple of things hadn't happened. One of which is
the Reagan administration.
Reagan administration, 6 children, and really enjoying an adult card game.
Yeah. What was his game?
I don't know. I try not to know. I was like, but he was, I just talked to him and he's 84 and he was like, I owe a guy like $110.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 110,000. 110 is reasonable. And according
to it's Milwaukee, remember?
Okay.
Like he used to be a bagman for a bookie in Milwaukee. This is not the Sopranos. This is not the Corleones.
What's a bagman?
A bagman is the person who brings money from one dodgy environment to another dodgy environment. Oh. And you have to be trustworthy because if you were to steal that money, that would be sad for everyone. But then they would kill you, so it didn't matter.
So let me get this straight. You're trying not to know, and you have all this information. I've been trying to know what my dad does for a long time. Like I know what he did for a living, but I would love to hear stories of whatever it is.
Whatever it is, whatever weird experiences he had. Yeah.
Well, my dad refuses to even tell me what ailments he has so I can tell my doctor. Everything's a secret. So
how old's your dad? Where's your dad live? How old is he?
My dad is about to turn 70. He lives in Israel.
Okay. And you get nothing from him.
My dad's the same, 81, 82 now. He won't tell me how many heart attacks he had. He says, who wants to know? I go, National Enquirer, Dad. My doctor. He goes, well, I've had some. But my dad, not doing a story on you, but okay.
My dad reluctantly admitted one time that over the phone, he's like, I went to the doctor. He told me that I had too many heart attacks. And, he must have not felt a huge thing, but it registered. And I was like, holy shit. I called my brothers. We went over there at the time. Everyone lived in New York City. We went over there. And then by the end, we were like, hey, let's talk about this heart attack thing. And he goes, I see what happened. Is that what you did, Chemda? And I was like, what the fuck is happening? He's like, that's why you're all here? Because Chemda told you this? I'm never telling you anything again. I go, cool, Dad.
My dad would use it. He had that heart surgery. And my brother Scott, who hadn't seen him in 25 odd years, came and saw him. And my dad was like, well, that was kind of nice. It was kind of nice to see Scott. And I was like, yeah, he doesn't want to see you, but I'm glad because we thought you were dying.
Right.
And yeah. And so
how is that nice?
That's not because he didn't die. So it's a small win for my dad. My dad loves any sort of triumph. He's like, he came and saw me, didn't he? Didn't he? Huh? He likes me.
And you've had a tragedy when it comes to moms. You said your first mom died. Is this true? Drunk driving accident. You're 7 years old. She's driving drunk.
She was on the back of a motorcycle, but I'm from Milwaukee, so it was a Harley Davidson. So of course we're proud. Yes.
Right. Jackie says that's the real Irish goodbye. All of a sudden she's got. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, she's
did I say gentle roast? Wow.
It's actually possibly the darkest joke I've ever written, because it's the original Irish goodbye is when your mom kills herself in a drunk driving accident when you're 7. She was 33, which is the age of Christ. Coincidence? Yes. Anyway,
who was driving the motorcycle?
Harold, her boyfriend. My parents were separated.
Okay.
The other crazy thing is that my stepmother didn't know that my dad had 6 kids.
I love
he
that.
tells her, And then she marries him anyway.
Well, he told her.
Yeah, that was his whole thing. Is I told you, come on, Terry, Philip, Scott, Russell, Darla, Jackie. How could I have not told you? I didn't.
How did she find out? I imagine like it's
my mom died, and she.
Lord, okay.
And that's when he told her. He said, "I get my kids back," and she goes, "Kids," and she goes. She told me this story, and my dad's like, I told her. And I said, no, you're the guy who says, I told you. Somebody forgets you have 6 kids. Nobody forgets you have 6 kids.
And is this?
He didn't tell her he had kids at all?
He probably told her he had Russ because he had to meet Russ because Russ was the bagman when they were separated. My brother Russ. Oh. Because when my parents separated, my mother was a mess. I'd literally picture my birth mother, a woman who I'm sure had good years and would have been an amazing woman if she wouldn't have had 6 fucking children in 10 years in a row. I picture her in heaven with no children. That's what Kevin is to her because she was, but when I was, I think I was 4. So it's 69, right? They separate. And my dad won't pay child support because she's spending all the money because she is 29 at this point. And
she's spending all the money on what?
She's spending. My dad did what his dad did was he would bring his check home and just give it to my mom. Mm-hmm. But he was 19 and she was 18. And so she just spent it. She would buy food and clothes for us but he didn't, she had to learn how to pay the rent.
What'd she spend
save
it on?
Save it on. She would send the clothes out. The one thing I know is that she used to send our clothes out to be cleaned. She would have a fold and fluff thing because she had 6 kids. And when she'd run out of money, she would just throw our clothes into a closet. And when she got the next check, she would just buy us new clothes. She wouldn't clean those clothes.
Oh, that closet must have smelled great.
Yeah, after she died, they opened the closet.
Oh, it stayed that way for a while.
Oh, yeah.
How'd the closet do?
It's full of mold, it turns out.
Oh, is that what children's clothing turns into? Oh, boy.
There are many pictures of me. There are not. There are 2 pictures of me when I was a baby. Because I'm the youngest of 6, right? Where do you land up, Keith?
The second to the oldest. So an older brother, me.
So
my
still
sister,
pictures, still a decent number of pictures of you.
Yes.
Yeah. And, but there's like 2 or 3 pictures. One picture I am wearing, like, I look like a doll. I am wearing like a frivolly dress.
Like from a scary movie, like right before you start.
Doll. Yeah, I look like a baby doll. Yeah, exactly. Other pictures of me, I look like I'm wearing a pillowcase and tights. So like we would run out of clothes.
Wow. What did you pick up from your parents, you think? Because they seem to have like little sprinklings of addiction, but also like this forward motion.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I mean, the thing is there's a certain point where you have to kind of make peace with your child. And you can tell these stories and they're funny because you lived. And some comic, God, I wish I knew who it was. They always say children are so resilient. They'll get over it. And she said, people always say that, but everyone I know spends their entire lives reliving their childhood.
Right.
And so they don't get over it. Nobody ever gets over it. But so my mother, I mean, what I do love about my childhood, but before my mom died, was sort of the literal giant vein of stories that are possible, that are almost fictional, right? That I can mine for the rest of my life for stand up. If I ever decide to write fiction, if I ever decide to do a memoir.
That's horrifying to hear. You were 7 at the most. You have so many stories from what? 4 to 7?
Yeah. And I only remember about a handful of them.
Sure.
And then from when I was 8 until I was 18, my stepmother, I've been saying this more and more lately, is I think I got my sense of humor from Nancy Kashian, who literally came to peace with the fact that she loved my dad so much that she was going to raise these kids. And she's like,
do a good job.
My grandmother insists she saved our lives. And I don't think she's wrong because there was no structure. There was an absence of structure prior to my mother's death. And one of my brother Russ always said this about my brother Terry. He didn't always say it. He said it one time and it's engraved. And I always think about it. He said, because Terry was 14 when my dad left.
Okay.
And 17 when he came back. And Russ was always like, there was a leadership vacuum there that Terry should have filled. He should have taken advantage of that leadership vacuum. Russ was 11, by the way. And I
party of 5 shit.
Or 9 or something. and when Russ said that Terry should have taken advantage of that leadership vacuum, I said, he did. I don't know if you remember how much he got laid and how many drugs he did, but he lived the greatest life of a 14-year-old ever. So
do you have, go ahead, Keith.
I was just going to ask, is he the same one that found God?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I'm confusing the moms. What couple were divorced but still lived together?
My stepmother and my dad.
That's great.
They were together for 25 years, and my dad had been having an affair. This is the joke you're referencing. And my dad had been having an affair for 9 years. And when Nancy confronted them about it, he said, "Not 9 years in a row."
Oh, how cute.
Lord, he's such a good salesman.
so during this, so they're
looking someone in the face going like, let's get this right size. Okay?
How long did they live together divorced?
Probably another 10 years.
That's
because what she had done. So I go to college, a couple of years go by, and then she moves. She has raised his children. Now both her mother and his mother move in with them, and she takes care of them until they die, 3 or 4 years.
That's crazy. So let me just in case somebody thinks they heard wrong, the stepmom and your dad get a divorce, live together for 10 years. During that time, both sides, the grandmas move in also. Are the two main, my head just exploded, synapse something. Are the two fighting because they're still around each other, and do the grandmas egg it on?
No.
Okay.
So there's overlap in that bit that isn't the linear. The way it worked was they died, then they got divorced, and then they kept living together because neither one of them could afford to move really. And the house was in Nancy's name because my dad was doing some sort of tax dodge, which he was like, no, I guess I regret that, but he didn't. And then he finally moved out when Nancy started dating a guy that he played cards with. And when my dad told me that, he said, she's dating window washer Bob. And I was like, well, first of all, that's an amazing name, window washer Bob. And he goes,
sounds like he has a job. So, okay.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out window washer Bob, it owns a window washing company for businesses.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you can't add all that in your name. You seem pretentious,
Right. But my dad tells me, he says, she's going out with Bob. I can't play cards in that game anymore. And I go, oh, she got you. Good for her. After 35 years together, good for her. And Bob, by the way,
whoever you want to party with. Yeah.
How uncomfortable for you, sir.
Exactly. And then, and her and Bob were together for like 9 years until she passed away. Right. She died before my dad, which nobody would have called. And because she was 9 years younger than he is.
Oh, wow.
And but she died 10 years ago. And
that was a regular health issue.
Okay. But Bob was good to her. Bob was such a good guy. But she also, to the day she died, not in front of Bob, but I suspect she probably said it to fucking Bob, that my dad was the love of her life. And I was like, well, he would have had to have been.
Wow.
For what you put up with. And
wow. Isn't that interesting? Because the love that is like that sort of fantastical thing is the depiction of love that we're seeing in love stories and rom-coms and movies where the ending is kind of fucked up for romance movies. And so when the ending is nice and simple and no one's fighting and there's not something to get over, it might not be this feeling that you have and you're craving that fucking danger.
Right. I think that she also had a love of drama, that she must have been interested in, she could have, I don't know. I feel
that's what I've seen is Alan Onick, which is you want the drama, but you don't want to do it because that would make you a piece of shit. So you attach yourself to somebody doing piece of shit things. So you can always point over there and go, I'm not doing it. I'm great. Mm-hmm. This guy's doing it, but I get to live in that action without taking any responsibility for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny putting that shit together because like just the other day, I really didn't think about it too much, Henda, but we were talking about how I knew because we were raised so religious and I believed in it for quite a while, I knew I wouldn't have premarital sex. I didn't think masturbating would be wrong, but I honestly didn't know about masturbating until I was 18. There's got to be a connection there, right?
I never knew about masturbating until I was like 19. Yeah. Okay. That's weird.
But we're hearing about your family. See, mine's nuts too. We're wrong. Like I didn't put that thing together. It's like it's not too long ago I put together. It's odd that out of 5 kids, none of us have kids. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. 5, again, all different walks of life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I never went deep down. Nobody said, no, we don't want anybody to do this again.
Right. Dana Gould does a joke about how he adopted because he didn't want to perpetuate his gene pool.
Right.
He was like, no. There's something in the water. We don't want to. Yeah, I forget how he put it, but it was really funny.
Oh, if I had a kid and my kid's size, I'd be like, oh, there's dad. Get out. Get the fuck out. This is interesting. You just wanted my attention, 2-year-old. Get the fuck out of here.
Take it on the arches.
Right. And you can see, then we see our, I have my friends, in your case, your siblings, you see their kids. And I just know about the kids that I see. And there's a lot of not cute moments, right? Oh, yeah. It really seems like the cute years are good, when you can finally get a little sleep. But then teenagers to age 23 is a whole bunch of bullshit. And then you hope for the best that you can be friends as an adult. So for about 10 years, you guys aren't going to get along. That's you can't even join the military for 10 years. They go, nah, how about 4 at a time? Think about it. I love my ex, but we didn't last 10 years and we were fucking. 10 years is a long time.
Did you see that veterans thing on PBS?
No.
It was a Drew Carey. I wish Ken Burns would have done it because Drew Carey did it. Right. And so it was only 3 1-hour things. And the first hour, it was on PBS. It was called The American Veteran or something. Okay. And the first hour was about why people join in boot camp. Fascinating. Like we've all seen it in the movies, right?
Right.
And then the second one was about sort of it was called The Mission. And it was about the time of service. And then the last hour was about getting out and PTSD and trying to get back into, that there is no boot camp to get back into society.
Right.
Right. They don't unravel you. They just let you go. And, they tell you where the VA is. And you're like,
yeah. And they really sold you on the idea that when you get out, American jobs won't be able to stop clamoring for you because you had that kind of discipline. Well, what's my discipline? I can shoot a rifle 40 out of 40 times. Mm-hmm. Great.
Well,
where would you like to put me?
One of my favorite things about veterans is that they show the fuck up. They're on time.
Right.
They're just like, oh, we're supposed to be here. Right. Okay. There's a deadline. This was beaten into me.
That's true. Keith was in the military and that's how I would describe him as a waiter. Because everyone thinks like, oh, he's a waiter. He probably cracked jokes at your table to make more tips. Nope. He showed up.
Yeah. All of the items you ordered will also show up in a timely fashion. There you go.
He wrote it down.
Yeah, I wrote
Yeah.
down everything. If you said a Sprite for the table, and literally that's it, I literally wrote it down. You can tell the sergeant, I got it.
Yeah, Sergeant doesn't want to hear you. No, write it down.
Right.
And, yeah.
I enjoyed very much you talking about your dad's sex talk. And,
That old.
My parents didn't. I love it so much. My parents never did that. My mom says she had to talk with all of us, but she had to do a trick where we're toddlers and can't respond back. And then my dad's only advice was when I went to the prom, he said, keep your pecker in your pants, and I'm like, okay, you learned a lot. Jackie kinda was told the bee goes flower to flower. The flower doesn't go bee to bee. All right, brush your teeth. Good night.
Oh Lord.
And that's the sex talk.
Is that, I never understood, I never had a birds and the bees thing. I didn't even understand why we were talking, why people even said birds and bees. Later, I'm like, oh, bees. Okay, I kind of get it. I got a book. I got and I thought, you know what? This is fine. I don't need these words to come out of my mother's mouth. I see a picture here. I get it. And I'm already embarrassed and she's not even looking at me right now. But what happened with you?
Nancy Cation pulled out the encyclopedia with we looked up reproductive organs, but Darla was, I think, 10 and I was 8 or 9. So she might've been 11. And she was like, and Nancy would answer all questions except for the ones she wouldn't, right? She was like, you should know this. Go talk to a neighbor, figure this out in some other way. I once asked her what oral sex was when I was 14.
Right.
And she just couldn't stop laughing. Oh, and then Darla came into the room and she said to Darla, Jackie just asked what oral sex was. And then they both laughed.
Oh, and then funnily enough, that was her response to your dad when he brought it up.
And then Darla got embarrassed and went back into our room. And then Nancy was like, so I never got an answer. She also never told me with tampons about the applicator. I literally tried to jam an entire tampon with applicator up my person and it hurt, as you could imagine, because I was 13. And she was like, fine, just use pads. Instead of going, what did you do?
Right.
Oh, Nancy sounds so sweet. That's such a try.
Oh my God.
She's trying.
She's trying until the thing is, she did a lot of things right and she did a lot of things wrong. Turns out Nancy Cation might have been a human. She was a human being, turns out. Did her best and failed a couple of times.
Do you think sometimes parents don't tell their kids these life lessons, the sex talk, for example, because why should you have it so easy the way I did? The way people say, I had to pay my student loans. Why should the future be easier? Even though that's
those are just assholes.
I would do for you.
Yeah.
I want them to wonder if they actually blow on a dick. Fuck them.
It's so funny too, because that flower bee thing, somebody told me once that's at the end. That's in The King and I.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, which I've never seen. But I saw the beginning of it, but I
definitely retweet.
Right. That would be my dad. That would be my dad too. Even as horrible as that is, the bee goes flower to flower. The flower doesn't go bee to bee. The guys keep fucking. The girls have to stay ladies as the guys keep fucking. As horrible as that is, my dad would say that, but he would have stole it from somewhere else and acted like he came up with it.
Yeah. And that's why, the current line that my father says that I asked him once if he wrote it, finally, is because he's 84. He's like, I don't even buy green bananas. And I was like, you didn't write that. He's like, no, I didn't write that. What do I care? He was like, I'm not a comic. I don't have to. I can say whatever I want. I'm a salesman. And
you and your husband, how long have you been together now?
We are married 15 years. We've been together for 17 years.
Congrats. And that's the span of your albums. The first album I heard anyway is so I have a boyfriend, my first boyfriend ever. And I'm like, well, I hope this works out because he really went all out. I wonder if that keeps you together. You're like, you're on 5 albums now. I'll just unload the fucking dishwasher.
Right. Right. And, but it's so funny because it doesn't feel like that amount of time at all. Right. It feels like we just got together 2 or 3 years ago. Even though, I have been finishing his sentences for 17 years and it drives him crazy. It's one of the things that he would enjoy me to stop doing.
So how old were you when you met him?
39, 38.
And you said, is it an exaggeration when you said you haven't had a boyfriend before that?
No, I had a boyfriend. It wasn't exaggeration, just only that I had a boyfriend. Essentially, you need a boyfriend to lose your virginity to. If you're trying to not be a slut
You count
in
those?
1984.
Okay. Right.
And so I had a boyfriend and he was a comic. I don't recommend that, even though he's a perfectly nice man. Actually, I still know him.
Right.
And but
no. Based on your album, calling a guy a perfectly nice man has a terrible ending.
Right. That does have a terrible ending. He's actually it both in stand-up and in males to say he's a perfectly nice guy. If you say it in stand-up, it means he's not funny. And he is funny. Mm-hmm. And if you say he's a nice guy and he's a dude, you're saying don't be alone with him. You're just like, because that was the joke on that part. But this guy he was a really funny comic. So at least, because that was my thing in stand-up, is I only wanted to go out with comics that I thought were I got crushes on guys that I thought I was as funny as.
Right.
The guys that were funnier than me, I never had crushes on those guys. Sort of like, I was like, oh no, I don't want to fuck somebody funnier than me. That seems like that's not going to work for my self-esteem at all.
They're getting too much good stuff.
Right. It's so guys that I thought were at my level. And so,
did he know that this would be your first time?
He did. Oh, that I had never had sex before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Because you were pretty young. I
was 19,
and he had sex before.
Yeah, he was 23. I think 22.
So did he manage that well? Because I feel like that sometimes puts a weird pressure, and then everything is awkward.
I think the weird thing about it is that it does. There's that's it. If there's been nothing up there, like if you haven't used any kind of dildo or vibrator or anything, and there's been nothing up there, your body is like, what the fuck is this? That kind of hurts, unless there's a lot of lubrication. And so it can hurt the first time. And then it can hurt if you're not wet up there, if there's not enough lubrication in any time. But we were both very excited to do it. So there was plenty of lubrication. And if I remember correctly, but I do remember thinking, oh, that's all there is to it. All right.
Really?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Like, so
it wasn't that big of a deal. It didn't feel like it was like life-changing, but I was like, oh, I want to do it again.
Oh, that's funny. Cause mine was life-changing. I remember I was 18. I remember having a neighbor like in the same building. We talked. He was a little younger, and I remember laying on his floor and being like, "You really do feel like a man. Everything's different now."
I remember, there was a switch. It was I remember telling one of my friends at the time, and I had like a camera ready to catch her response. I lost my virginity, and I don't like the way I lost it. I don't think it was a good experience, but it still had a switch effect. I was like, oh, this is weird. I didn't expect this much of like a wow effect. And it was like 3 seconds.
Okay. So the orgasm is what you guys are talking about. You're not talking about the losing of virginity.
No, the losing of virginity. I didn't orgasm, please. I didn't even know. I didn't even know what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh shit.
It didn't take me a while. Yeah.
But I because the thing is the losing of virginity is made such a big deal out of.
Yeah, it's horrible
for men and women in particular, and men and women, everybody. It's this big thing where you're just like, I remember talking to my nieces and nephews when they were young, and they would talk about drugs or sex, and I was like, if you could please wait till college and then never tell me about it, that'd be great. And that's my only recommendation for people under 18. I was like, if you could please wait till you're over 18, and then you don't have to tell me the details. I'm good.
Do women think like if a guy loses his virginity? And see, I was confused by your words for a second. It's understood that we came. Do women sometimes not know? Like, I guess that's it. I guess I lost my virginity. I guess I just did that.
Well, no, when tab A goes in slot A,
right? For
me, anyway, I was like, well, that is the task. That is.
But I was confused only because like this dude was like, hey, let's do this thing, and I was like, no, I don't feel ready. I don't even know how to understand to be ready, because it was such a big deal that it just, I wouldn't even know when the ready button happened. So he did it anyway. And so it's still, what was confusing is, you know, he was playing like just the tip, whatever. And I didn't know this game because I'm, you know, not that experienced at all. And then all of a sudden, oops, it slips in. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, I actually didn't know what was happening. And he's like, we're making love. And I go, okay, I know we're not making love.
No,
like I might not be experienced, but I know that this is not what we're making.
And in retrospect, that is defined with the word rape.
And then
it is non-consensual. Right.
Yeah. And then it lasts. So that's the thing. It lasted like a couple of seconds. As soon as I said, like, what are we doing? He's like, we're making love. I'm like, what? And then he left. Not left. He got out.
Withdrew.
He excused himself.
He excused his penis. And I was like, I wanted, since I quote waited, you know, I wanted the candles and the things and the thoughtfulness so that I can be in this experience. Instead, I got this and I'm like, I guess I just lost my virginity, which was just like, fuck, like.
Right. And it had been made a big deal.
Yeah. And I didn't even get to have it. Now I feel like I need to have my second experience with this person, because otherwise, like, you sort of half lost it. And the second experience was worse because it wouldn't go in because I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's happening. And I felt tricked into the first one. Then he got upset, which I did not know was a red flag. Yeah. And just kind of got pissy and we went to sleep. And I'm like, well, this is a relationship, huh? This sounds fun. This is good. Then we stayed together for a few more months because I didn't want to break up with the person that I lost my virginity to. I wanted to make it work because otherwise now I have to sleep with multiple people. And that felt.
And where does it end?
Exactly.
That's fascinating. And
yes, but that's what we were taught, you know, the people who are younger than us, like all this ease of talking about abortion, like even the word abortion would clam everybody up, all this ease about talking about butt sex, let alone like, you know, whatever it is.
Porn.
Porn. This was all hush hush, even between each other. We would have to find one best friend that we can let it out on. This is all still new and it will be generations of newness. And
civilization takes a very long time. But I will say that I don't know why. There are some things I learn. And I have just learned something about my upbringing regarding sexuality and sex and virginity and all of these things. Because I read these romance novels when I was in junior high and high school. And there was a lot of hoopla about virginity. And there was a lot of hoopla about being married before you even make out. But Nancy Cation was just like, no, I lived with your dad. He was married. Anyway, so they were separated, but I knew he was married. I didn't know he had any kids.
But wasn't it not like, it's not like you wanted to emulate their example. So now you're seeing that that's a bad idea, no?
I didn't see it. She didn't see it as a bad idea, which I think really colored how I thought about it. And I had never had a boyfriend before. And so I had just been like, I had been kissed by an old guy once when I was about 14. And
okay. All right. We're gonna let that. You sound like you have a list coming. Okay.
Right. There's a list of bad sort of, like sexual experiences that were not good. Right. So when I met the guy that was my boyfriend, my first boyfriend, who I lost my virginity to, he's a good person. He to this day, he is a good person. But so when
met one of those,
I have been, and I never thought of it as luck, but because I did also meet bad guys before that, but I was like, I don't want to go out with that guy. And that's a bad guy. And, you know, and my dad is a jackass sometimes, but he is not a creep. And he cheats on people. He's a cheater, right?
Doesn't he hit on the waitress and hits on everybody?
But he hits on people in a very distant, he does that weird definition of flirting where he's trying to make you feel good about yourself and then eventually sell you windows, I guess, or get you to buy him a sweater.
I got to look up the word creep. I'm really confused.
Well, a creep is like for me, a creep is a guy who touches you against your, like he's just like, oh, handsy is what we used to call it, right? Where he's like touching your shoulder, he's squeezing your elbow when he's shaking your hand.
Isn't that nice that we came up with handy? Like
handsy, yeah.
Handsy, like it's handy is actually good. Handsy is like, the cute way of I don't want you to touch me, but you are.
Please don't touch me. Yeah. Or just, the small of your back. The small of your back guy. That's Maria's least favorite. My friend Bamford. She's like, not her least favorite. Probably your least favorite is when someone grabs her, Anyway, but
she doesn't like it if a guy's very fingery.
Fingery. Right. Well, why isn't that a term? And
I once did an entire podcast sitting next to, and I'd like to think that I won't do it again. I'm sitting next to this dude, and every once in a while he would just touch my lap to make his point. And I'm like, fuck, I'm in a room full of 3 dudes. This is a very high testosterone podcast. I do not want to distract from this fucking guy touching my lap, because then it'll turn into that. And that's going to be the show that I'm on. And I'm like, every time he did it, I'm like, do I say it now? Do I tell a joke about it?
And there's no other women to at least make eye contact with. So you suffer fucking through it.
Yeah. And I can't tell if people can see it. And I don't even think he meant anything by it. I know I had to tell my
he just never touched my lap. But other than that,
you are wrong. He certainly
I know that my brother Michael, he I noticed one time we were talking and he did that sort of to make a point, like how people touch your arm or whatever. And I'm like, you need to stop doing that, because, I'm your sister and I know that you're not intending anything by this. No one wants to be touched while you're talking to them. And he's like, holy shit, thanks for telling me. I would not know that. I don't know if this guy would know it or not, but why are you touching my lap while you're talking to me?
You're talking about, that's where you keep your pudendum. That's bullshit is what that is, because it's happened to me too. And sometimes there's nothing you can do except for sit there and or there was nothing you could do. I mean, now we're kind of talking about it, and you were like, oh, he doesn't mean anything by it. He doesn't mean anything by it. You're like,
it's not that, even if he means,
I'm just going to squeeze away from this person. I was on a bus once. I'm 17. Dude fingered me.
Fuck.
It was a horrible, horrible experience that I've never told anybody. Nobody really needs to hear the full thing. I lived. But get up and fucking move.
Why is living a consolation prize? We're always saying that. We're like, I lived. So I don't.
It's not okay. It's all kinds of not okay. I don't actually want to talk about it. I'm sorry I brought it up.
Is this well, you did bring up in the album how like your husband was sweet and somehow reframed, and I don't know what it means, but somehow reframed the situation. I like your husband. I'm pleased with you too.
Oh yeah. I jackpot.
Is this a dumb question? Whenever you, no. you're with your husband and he's basically, it sounds like the first big deal boyfriend. Did you wonder, like, you have common sense, but at the same time, what is the role of a girlfriend? Could I tell you, hey, I'm going to a shitty party, you have to come to me. You come with me, for example. Yeah. You mentioned that. Yeah. Did you wonder different things? Like, hey, what is it like to be in a relationship?
I remember the one time, like I said, when we first moved in together, I said these words and I was crying and I was like, I don't want to make something a deal breaker because I don't know if I'll stick to it. But I don't want you to do this thing. And he said, you can just say, please don't do that thing. Right. And I'm crying. I've cried in front of him more than I've cried in front of anyone else. Last night I was so exhausted because I got off the plane and I got to get back on a plane tomorrow. And the printer isn't working. And I was just like, can you check and see if, and he's like, yes, I can. I'd be psyched if this didn't turn into crying. And I was like, you're not wrong. I'm not going to cry. I was super tired. And he's like, okay. It triggers a bunch of things in him where he wants to fix it. He thinks he caused it. He's got a litany of things where I didn't cause this. I probably can't fix it. because I think you're just tired and you need to do this work before you go to bed.
Mm.
So I'm sorry, but you just keep your shit together for another 15 minutes and then you can go to sleep. And I went to bed at last night at 8:00. I woke up at 7 a.m.
Oof. Wow.
So I'm well rested, you guys.
I'm trying to get my girlfriend that we've been together at least 3.5 years and to say when she does want something. Cause she kind of,
it's hard.
she got new carpeting. So I have to move out the furniture. I cut the carpet. I put the furniture back.
What?
And she goes, yeah, Chemda, I can do shit.
What?
So-
Okay.
But why are you doing shit? Why aren't you paying someone anyway?
Because you just have to
it's
move
not
the
that big of a
couch.
deal.
It's
Okay.
not that big of a deal.
Okay.
When I say cutting carpet, it sounds more than it is. So anyway, she goes, oh, how about you cut that side of the carpet? No, you probably don't want to do that, right? Okay, never mind, right? But if you did, then now I just stand there until she's all done. Then I go, okay, I'll do it because we want to do it. We literally want to do it for you.
We want to, we each want to help the other person. That's why
Right.
we're in a relationship. Yeah. I want, Sam Kinison had a very funny joke, at least two. And
I'm
this
sorry,
one
before
was,
you continue, remember, Keith, when you were saying, when I read a book, do they recommend accidentally a bunch of books? This is the podcast that recommends accidentally. You have a lot of homework to do.
stand-up comics.
Yeah. As a
Find
listener.
Joyelle, find Bamford, find Maria, find. And
Kinnison, yes.
Kinnison's joke was, tell us in the sack. Women should tell men what they want to do because we want you to have a good time. We're the ones fucking you. I promise you, we want you to have a good time.
Right.
And just tell us what to do. We'll do it. And so it's funny the lessons I've gotten out of life from other people's stand-up comedy, right? And I'm just like, because that is revelatory. It was revelatory when he screamed that into the mic one night.
Right.
Jesse, I want to help you. Ah!
I'm in love with you. Look. Oh. Okay. All right.
Oh, I'm in love with you. Please scream the words "I'm in love with you" while coming. That's hilarious.
All right. Here's what you want to do. You want to get the new stand-up album, Staycation, Kashian.
That's
Okay.
it.
And I think you're going to have a good time. Also mention this, JackieCation.com. You can check out. Twitter handle is her name. Instagram is her name as well. Facebook, she likes to change it up. Jackie Cation Jokesmith.
Joke Smith. That's right. I got an Advil. I'm over here clang.
Keeps you on your toes.
Let no premise be left behind.
And your new album is just available for all.
Yeah.
Look at this. Really.
Oh,
if
the
you
new
want-
special. Yeah, the video.
Yeah.
It's just on YouTube. There
You could
are
just
some
get it.
ads. And that is to recoup the cost of it. So feel free to fucking sit through an ad or two. You could do it.
You don't have, well, I didn't get the ads because I pay for YouTube Premium, which I think is,
Oh, there you go.
it's totally worth it because I consume a lot on YouTube.
My Venmo is also at Jackie Cation. Why don't you just throw me $10 if you watched it and enjoyed it? There's a challenge.
I unsubscribed to YouTube, watched your special, and then resubscribed. Just want you to know that.
They still get the ad revenue.
I believe so. I believe
yes,
so.
you do. You don't believe so. Know where your money's coming from. No, I'm
I
kidding.
know it. Oh,
I'm turning
that is-
into your dad.
Oh my God. Know where your money's coming from is a beautiful saying. Yes.
Your dad told me it. I subscribe to him.
Never say no without a number. Okay.
And of course, like I mentioned, the podcast you want to check out, The Dork Forest. Hamda and I have appeared on that before. You pick something nerdy that you're into and you talk about it. And I did hair metal, and Jackie acted like she gave a fuck for an hour, and that was a good
one of
time.
my acting skills. I can act that I like about something for everybody.
I'm
for
not
1
exaggerating. She goes, and what is a Motley Crew? I'm like, Jackie, we can end this if you want. Tell me more about Vince Neil. Jackie, you don't know if that's a person or a car. Damn it. Very sweet.
I want to show him that
Yes.
she came on and she got a lot of. I have so many collard greens and Swiss chard
Oh,
in my garden.
last time I was over, I got a caprese salad, basically. She gave me
Sans
pesto and tomatoes. And, going to LA to do podcasts in person is so much more pleasant. You guys do it earlier, which is very
Mhm.
interesting. And you show me your gardens. This is this is what I learned from Jackie before we were on. She's like, let me show you my garden. Here's how I make my tea and coffee. And here's where I put, you have a reptile of some sort.
He died. He was 23. 23-year-old iguana. That's not a life cut tragically short, you guys.
Well, RIP, I'm glad I got to meet him. And then she said, you know what? In LA, you got to have a gardener. Didn't think I'd have a gardener. I have a gardener. You throw him some money. Here's some tomatoes.
He's the guy that cuts the lawn. He's good.
Well, that's Kenda's nerdy thing was vegetables, and she left with vegetables. So if I do the show again, my nerdy thing is going to be money. Now I figured out. Right. I mean, she couldn't give me a Sebastian Bach, so I left with nothing.
Exactly. I can't give you a Fender guitar or whatever.
That's the thing, Jackie. Good.
Yep. I can come up with an occasional musical reference.
You also want to check out the podcast, The Jackie and Laurie Show, that, of course, is with her pal, Jackie Kilmartin. That's Laurie Kilmartin. Laurie, what did I say? Jackie?
Yeah.
What?
Oh my God. Their names together.
Let's start the whole show over. Okay, we're doing a Spider-Man. Jackie, thank you so much.